Munich, Automatica in May 2012. The trade event where leading robotics experts from all over the world meet to discuss the future of the industry at the invitation of the International Federation of Robotics, IFR. And this year's show was full of smiling faces. Why? Because 2011 was the most successful year for industrial robotics since 1961.
Today, we have a lot of very good news about the international robotics industry for you. 2011 was the year of the 5th anniversary of the industrial robots, and it was by far the most successful year of industrial robots.
Since the very first robotics installation back in 1961, more than 2.3 million robots have been sold throughout the world, with sales reaching 165,000 in the last year alone.
And we are expecting in the next years in these two areas the big result that we have already seen in other countries. So good news from everywhere. We see the big growth also in the electrical. In these two segments, we must consider that we had an incredible growth due in the to the growth in the emerging countries. So we had an improvement in automotive, not only in Germany, not only in Italy, in Americas, but also in emerging countries where robots are the tool to create, for example, cars.
And experts say this trend is set to remain.
Automotive industry will remain as the biggest end market for robotics in the near future, even though we see the higher growth rates in the non-automotive business.
For me, automotive industry is very important. I think KUKA is number one worldwide in the automotive industry. Nevertheless, the key for KUKA for the future is general industry.
The automotive industry has a really rich infrastructure to support robots. And when you move from automotive plants to a food plant, there's nowhere near the same infrastructure. So robots need to be more intelligent, easier to work with, more flexible, more dynamic. And and those are reasons that those industries have not moved quite as quickly as the automotive industry has.
What's the current status of cage-free robotics?
We make mobile robots, so when you make robots that are going to be moving around, then they almost by default have to be able to work with people because they're going to be encountering an environment where you're going to run into people.
We have developed a lot, but we still see that the acceptance inside of the customer is still very slow because obviously the main drivers continues to be price, delivery and supply.
In the case we are Scar, we have no real application.
2 years ago, we sat here and with everybody about the automotive industry was in a different situation back then, and all of you look towards industrial general applications as being the growth industry. That really hasn't happened. If you look at the figures here, they've grown, but not as significantly as we expected 2 years ago. Where's the limitation? Why has it not occurred?
So I think one of the challenges we as a robot manufacturer have is to make our robots easier to use, to make them simpler, where you use more intuitive programming tools than we maybe have.
We have to invest more in bringing up our customers up the learning curve because for them the tool itself is very new. I think the tool itself is easy for use. Our engineers and the majority of our customers, existing customers, will consider it easy to use. It will become even more easier to use, supported by the technology which was just mentioned. But I think the key point, I fully agree there with Mr. Minami, is that we have to work much closer with our smaller customers in introducing the robot itself to them and bringing them up the learning curve.
Looking at the statistics, according to IFR, China will be the biggest market in the year, 2 years at the most. Today, it's for all of you, it's a major market. What are the main differences in dealing with Chinese customers to dealing with customers in Europe or in Japan or in the US? Where are the differences today?
So if we compare to the Japanese customer and also Chinese customer, maybe we need more engineering power to support the Chinese customer.
I think Chinese customers has to be said, they're great customers. They're very, very demanding, but also very rewarding. I think they really challenge us as us suppliers to meet their requirements, which are very high, legitimately high. They are very demanding for the technology that they buy, and they pay on time. At least this is our experience. I think for us, China is good news because they're very reliable business partners.
Just by those numbers itself, it says that there has to be Chinese robot companies that will evolve out of those kind of numbers. I mean, it's just, there's just no way. And given the government's propensity to try and help industries along that they consider to be important, there's no doubt that over some period of time, I don't know if it's 2 years, if it's 5 years, but somewhere in the future there will certainly be Chinese robot companies.
So there was clearly plenty for experts and journalists to talk about in the meetings that followed.
It's very interesting, and a lot of subjects have been deliberated today by the CEOs of the robotics companies. Though it used to be automotive is one of the major industries, but the other industries also trying to use robotics as one of the major platform to bring solutions, and this also improve the productivity of the manufacturing activities.
Whichever way we see it, the future looks bright for robot manufacturers.